So this is a slightly different video format than I normally do, but it's based upon a quote really that I read in a guitar magazine. So I'm going to read the quote to you, and then we're going to talk about how to get distortion on guitar without a pedal and the various misconceptions that go along with that and specific settings that will allow you to achieve this distortion without a pedal on your guitar, because I don't own pedals and I don't really think they're anything near required. Neither is a tube amp, neither is a vintage amp, and we're going to talk about this, but let me read the quote. The quote is basically, it started out with power chord rhythms, talking about those because I had just done the video based upon power chords, and I didn't play the electric guitar and I didn't incorporate distortion, and I probably should have. So here's the quote. Into the Friedman's modded Marshall lead channel, however, or with a JHS Angry Charlie, or they're basically just, they're naming all these obscure items. The arcade dished out throaty power chord rhythms or wailing, toothsome leads like it was born to rock. Now the arcade is an unusual guitar. It's made by these guys called the Frank Brothers, and they make one instrument at a time. But the idea is it's like a Gibson ES335 meets SG. And I have an SG, and when I read that throaty power chord rhythms, that's exactly what I thought about what I was playing. And I did not have distortion when I played the power chords. I did, however, have distortion when I played that How to Play Heavy Metal video that I just did. So the point being that when I was playing the power chords with that setting, it sounded really great. And I haven't recorded that yet. I may do it at a later date. I'm going to have to. So here's how to get distortion on guitar without a pedal. Well, you don't need a tube amp. You're going to turn on your amp's overdrive setting. You can see my overdrive is almost all the way up. Not quite all the way. The gain is almost all the way up. Not to 10, but it's almost all the way, and this is what you could call this a low wattage amp. I'm also using my guitar's bridge pickup setting. That's important. I'm also playing with the idea of palm muting. The volume dial, though, it's a misconception that needs to be all the way up. No, it's not all the way up. It's actually very slightly up. Not even halfway. And I'm not using an amp with a built-in effects. I used to have a Fender Champ 20 with built-in, it literally was called the metal setting. I'm not using that. I don't have an amp with built-in effects anymore. I sold that. I'm also not using heavy strings with this guitar. So that's the misconception, that you need heavy strings. So now pay attention to this. Look at the treble. The treble is all the way up. The middle is all the way off. The bass is all the way off. Now I was playing it before with the settings I had previously, everything basically 12 o'clock. I was not getting the distortion sound. And I got up and I said, okay, turn this treble all the way up. It was at 12 o'clock prior. The middle and the bass was at 12 o'clock. I rolled those all the way off. And as you can see here, the volume is not all the way up. The unique thing about these orange amps is you need some amount of gain for it to function whatsoever. So maybe it's different on the big amps, but I have the big versions of this is the Orange Crush 12. But I have a feeling it's the same concept. So all in all, this is how to get distortion on guitar without a pedal. This is a video I wanted to make based upon an idea of this quote that I was reading this morning. You don't need heavy strings, you don't need built-in effects, you don't need volume to the max, but you do want to use the bridge pickup. You don't need a vintage amp, but you do want to turn the gain to 10.